to a major international skating competition. It's the biggest event yet. 143 competitors from 36 countries have gathered here at the Mukdong Arena for the 93 World Junior Figure Skating Championships. Season's greetings, everybody. Chris Cuthbert along with Barbara Underhill and Paul Martini. Barb, the World Junior event gets bigger each year, and this year, 8 countries that formerly made up the Soviet Union represent 20% of the start list, and yet Canada has the largest delegation here.
Yes, Canada has sent 16 competitors to Seoul, and that is largely due to the fact that we had such great success last year in Hull. Unfortunately, though, Nettie Kim injured herself prior to leaving for Seoul, and it looks as though only 15 out of the 16 competitors will compete.
Last year, Canada in Hull had medals in the pairs and the dance competition. It appears that's where our best bet will be for medals again in Seoul. Paul, it's an historic event in many ways.
Yes, Chris. Here in Seoul, we have the very first Junior World Championship ever to take place in Southeast Asia. But perhaps the biggest story is the world's changing political scene. With the breakup of the Soviet Union, we have countries such as Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, all eligible to make entries here at the Junior World Championships, as all are now independent members of the ISU. What this has resulted in is an explosion in the number of entries at a competition such as this. In the ladies' event alone, we have over 40 entries.
And over 30 for the junior men. This could be a real problem for the judges.
It's a very unreasonable demand to put on any judge to try and evaluate that many skaters. So the ISU, with a little bit of a push from the IOC, has decided that for the very first time, there will be a qualifying event in those entries that have over 30 in. So, what do we have? We have a qualifying event with only the top 24 making the final.
Barb, we've talked a lot about quantity, but the quality keeps rising as well.
Yes, the level of skating in this event has improved tremendously, and we will see many of these skaters competing at the European Championships and the World Championships later this year.
Paul talked about that historic qualifying round. That will be our focus when we return to the 93 World Junior Figure Skating Championships from the Mukdong Arena in Seoul. And the first ever competitor from Israel was one of 33 junior men entered, along with the silver medalist from 2 years ago, Alexander Apt, who knew this year's competition would be tougher after qualifying 5th.
Well, 2 years ago, Alexander really impressed us with his showmanship. But since then, he's grown about 6 inches, and he's really had difficulty with his jumps because of that.
But in the time frame, he certainly has not lost that ability to put on a really good show. Of all the men at this competition, he was perhaps the most entertaining out there.
Now, Canadian Yvon Desjardins barely survived this qualifying process. He was 12th in his side of the draw.
In the qualifying round, the skaters are required to skate their free program. Now, you want to skate just well enough in order to qualify because you want to save your best performance for the final. But Yvon just barely made it. He cut it a little bit close here.
Now, on the other hand, Latvia's Andres Blashenko left his best performance on the qualifying ice. He won his pool, only to go on to finish 8th in the competition.
Well, Andres is an example of someone who, had the world's political scene stayed as it was, perhaps may not have been able to have attended this competition had the breakup of the Soviet Union not occurred. But because of that, he's here and he puts on a very fine show.
Lu Chen wasn't here, but China's junior men will soon be a force. This is 18-year-old Yuming Lu. He was 4th in qualifying and 6th in the competition.
That was a beautiful combination. He just performed triple Lutz, triple toe.
The interesting thing about that combination was that he went on to execute the very same combination in his technical program, which is illegal because these men at the junior level could only do a double, triple combination in the technical program. But having only arrived in Seoul the night before, we all assumed that he was practicing this combination strictly for his long program.
On the junior women's side, 42 ladies were entered, but only one Canadian, Sherry Ball, carrying Canada's colors, when the junior champion of our country, Nettie Kim, was forced to withdraw with an ankle injury.
Well, you maybe remember Sherry Ball from the Olympics last year. She skated pairs with partner Chris Wirtz. Now, since then, they have quit pair skating together, and Sherry has gone on to a singles career.
And Sherry was fourth in Pool B. An up-and-comer from Germany, Astrid Hochstetter, fifth, right behind Sherry in qualifying.
For many of the skaters, this qualifying event was extremely difficult just due to the environment in which they had to compete. If you notice, during the men's qualifying, there was nothing on the boards. They were clear all the way around. Now there's partial board signs up. So the look of the rink was changing daily, which as a skater can be upsetting because you're trying to get your bearings and your whereabouts on the rink from some of these markers that you start using off the boards. And if the rink changes every day, it can be very confusing.
Astrid is an up-and-coming German skater, and we are likely to see her at the European Championships in Helsinki this year.
We first saw Marie-Pierre Leray of France last year at the World Juniors in Hull, Quebec, and based on this preliminary, she appeared to be the skater to beat. She won her pool, yet went on to finish fourth overall.
Well, Marie-Pierre is one of the skaters who I'm concerned about in terms of how much competing they're doing in a season. I don't know if she's going for air mileage, but she was at Victoria for Skate Canada, flew home, flew to Seoul for Junior Worlds. She goes back to do French Nationals, and in Skate Canada, she did singles, artistic, and pairs. She did singles here in Seoul, and she'll do singles and pairs at French Nationals before Europeans and hopefully on to Worlds. I'm talking a full schedule here.
Kristina Zacko of Hungary looks like the most promising young skater from that country in quite some time. She was third in her pool and seventh overall.
Kristina is probably one of the more experienced skaters here at this competition. She was at Worlds last year, placed 17th, and has skated in at least 3 other international competitions. So for many of these other skaters who are competing here internationally for the first time, she is one of the more experienced.
And like Leray of France, Alice Souclays of Belgium emerged in Hull last year. She was fourth at the World Juniors there, but sidetracked in Seoul by food poisoning.
And considering, again, like Marie-Pierre, the heavy schedule that she's on, that food poisoning incident could really weigh heavily in her season. She was at Skate Canada, she's here in Seoul, she was going from here on to NHK, back to Europe for Belgian Nationals, and on to Europeans, and hopefully on to Worlds. And I think some of the girls are perhaps most guilty at biting off more than they can chew.
And we'll return to Seoul for competition at the 93 Junior Worlds after this. Club in Moscow, here are Ekaterina Svirina and Sergei Sakhnovski, third at the Russian Junior Championships, and they are third after the 2 compulsory dances.
This team is beautiful to watch. The quality of their edges, the smoothness of their transitions, they're just a delight to watch.
What I'm going to be interested to see is where they are placed after this original dance, because I think it's one of the most beautiful original dances in this competition, and there has been some significant movement in the ice dance event amongst the top 3 competitors at this point.
Difficult to be graceful yet powerful at the same time, but I'd have to say this team does that very well. And the ease with which they do it, they don't look like they're having to concentrate at all. They just go out there and just float and flow around that rink as if it's, you know, dancing on air.
5.2s and 3s for composition for Svirina and Sahnovski. And the presentation marks even better. Those are the best marks we have seen so far in the tradition of fine Russian ice dancing. We have 3 Canadian couples in the dance competition because of the bronze medal last year by Emily Dion and Alexandra Alam. And here are the 3rd entries from Canada, José Piché and Pascal Denis. And they are in 6th place after the compulsory dances.
Well, this is their 2nd major international competition. They were at the Moreno Dance Competition this spring where they placed 7th, but they're coming into the season unranked in Canada as they missed the 92 Canadian Championships due to injury. So they are on a rehab year, but have looked quite good here up to this point.
In this event, the judges give the skaters 2 marks, 1 for composition and 1 for presentation. For the composition mark, the judges are looking for the difficulty and originality of the dance, the cleanness and sureness of the edges, and the pattern and ice coverage. For the presentation mark, they're looking for the type of music that they selected, the timing to the music, the choreography, and their expression.
18-year-old José Piché from Montreal and 17-year-old Pascal Denis from Repentigny, Quebec. And the composition marks up to a 5.1 from the Russian judge. And the presentation marks, ordinals from 4th to 8th, so they should stay in the top 6 heading to the free dance. And there's their coach, Sylvie Fulham-Vallet.
Starting order number 9.
Well, they were 11th last year in Hull, and Sylwia Nowak and Sebastian Kolasiński of Poland are right now tied for the lead after the compulsories. They were second in the blues, and they won the tango. So an indication of how quickly you could move up in the junior ranks in 1 year.
Well, Chris, what a difference a year makes. I honestly do not remember this team in Hull last year, but they came out here in Seoul, and they just caught my eye. They've got a confidence factor and a maturity that puts them, in my books, right to the top of the class here.
Now, like most of the other teams, this team has also chosen a Strauss waltz. There have been some changes to the rules in the dance event this year. It states that the music for the original program must be orchestrated for use in the ballroom.
Well, it should come as no surprise that they've selected a waltz written by Johann Strauss. Now, what they didn't specify was whether or not it was junior or senior who wrote it, because between the two of them, they wrote over 150 waltzes during their career. So it gives these skaters an abundance of wonderful music to select from.
Now, this team was second after the first compulsory dance and first after the second compulsory dance. It'll be interesting to see what happens here, because I'd have to say that was probably one of the better waltzes here today.
Sylwia Nowak and Sebastian Kolasiński, and their composition marks up to a 5.5 from the Italian judge. And there are the presentation marks. They have 3 first-place ordinals, 4 seconds, 2/3, so that's how close this is. And Nowak and Kolasiński are second, heading into the free dance. Back with the pair's pre-program when we return. And David Pelletier, 5th in Hull last year, but they have their work cut out for them to match that here. Cheering section of Canadians on hand, but they are 9th after the technical program.
Well, I think the major worry here will be whether or not they have the stamina to get through this, because they just performed their technical program yesterday. So David really hasn't had a chance to recuperate from his food poisoning yet.
There's the double Lutz that Julie missed in the technical program, which has resulted in them sitting in 9th place coming into this free skate. And it just reinforces how important it is for every skater to skate a strong technical program.
Triple twist. It looked like she didn't quite get the rotation that she needed to land cleanly on one foot. Throw triple Salchow again, a 2-foot landing. very often in a Junior World Championship. Side-by-side triple sow cows. Oh, close, but she just couldn't get her free leg through in time to land.
There was a throw double loop, and she again two-footed it, and I really detect a lack of aggression here. Perhaps it's because David has been ill, but the team as a unit just doesn't seem to be attacking as well as I've seen them previously.
Well, she has two-footed at least 3 of her throws or jumps, and I think what it is, it's a little bit of a lack of confidence, and it's something that will develop over time as they compete more internationally. That this team has yet to compete in Canada at a junior level. They were novice champions last year, but will compete as juniors for the first time this year. For that experience, I think a very respectable performance.
And I think we have to really take into account the fact that 48 hours ago he was on intravenous, and the fact that he's out there and got through the program is a real accomplishment.
Paul, you almost could see just a big sigh of relief by David that he got through it. There are the technical marks, 4.5, 6s, 7s, and 8s. And the artistic marks move up from there, and they could in fact move up a place or 2 from 9th after the technical program. And again, I think they're just glad they got through it. Well, the surprise of the technical program from Canada's perspective, Kelly MacKenzie and David Annecca in 8th spot.
This team has really showed some promise this week. They have great lifts and an outstanding twist lift. I think part of that may be the fact that this girl only weighs 76 pounds.
I'm most impressed with her presence out there. She's just 14 years old, and yet comes on with a real feeling of command out there. She's up there and she feels comfortable in the air. She smiles, and she really gives you a feeling that she wants to be out here pair skating.
Here's the triple twist. Great height. A little slow on the rotation, but she gets around just in time to land.
We've all come to know the Mariposa Winter Club as the home of champion single skaters, but that is where this team trains. They're coached by Neil Carpenter, along with Doug Lee, who obviously works on their single elements, their spins and their jumps. And it's nice to see that there are pair teams coming out of various areas around the country now. For the longest time, there just seemed to be a couple of centers, but this team is really a breath of fresh air.
A great show of flexibility on this lift.
I love this entrance.
Straight into a throw double sow cow.
recent problem on this side-by-side flying camel spin, but as a pair skater, the unison in a side-by-side spin is perhaps one of the most difficult skills to master. It takes a lot of time of skating with the same person to really get a good feel of where each other is at all times throughout the spin.
That was a beautiful one-hand pressed cartwheel lift. I'm really impressed with the choreography of this program. It's very interesting. They do a lot of original moves, and it's great to see in a very young team.
And it gives them flow. It's choreographed to keep them moving and keep them covering the ice, which is paramount in pair skating.
Their best elements, the lateral twist. Watch the height that they get. Oh, a little over-rotated. She landed on 2 feet. But overall, I'm very impressed with this team. I think they can use a little bit of work on their side-by-side jumps and spins, but their lifts are good, their flow is good, and I'm really impressed with the program.
We have to remember that this is yet another team that is yet to compete at the junior level in our own country. So the fact that they're out here and skating this well at a junior world competition bodes very well for this young team.
Canadian judge Mary Pearson has given them a higher technical mark than that of Laporte and Pelletier. Some judges agree, some don't. They have a 4th place mark from Canada and the Ukraine, but 10th from Austria. MacKenzie and Annecca now are in 8th spot. They're placed behind Laporte and Pelletier, and we'll have the pair's medal hopefuls when we return. Medal hopes of the Mukdung Arena in Seoul belong to Isabelle Coulombe and Bruno Marcotte. They are 3rd after the technical program. Now remember, last year Canada won a silver medal in this event with Carolyn Haddad and Jean-Sébastien Fecteau.
Opening with a gorgeous forward inside death spiral. Really nice arch in her back.
What will be important for them is to carry the confidence that they've gained from skating so well in the technical program throughout this entire free skate. There's a particular element that this team is going to have to improve upon if they want to remain considered a contender. They did a double twist, and most teams at this competition and almost every team at the senior world level does a triple.
Nice cartwheel lift, good position in the air. Now they've had a few problems with the throw double axel here this week. But she gets it.
Actually over-rotated, but she's strong enough with the right side to get the landing through. Nicely done. Now there was the side-by-side double axel that they did so well in the technical program, but they've missed it here tonight. They've had a couple of little errors along the way in this program, and I think if they hope to stay third, they're going to have to try and skate clean through the balance of this skate.
Well, it looks to me like the conditioning might be a question here. It looks as though they're getting a little bit tired, getting quite sloppy.
You can hear the crowd urging them on with change of music to really pick up the pace. Nice side-by-side double luxes, and much closer together than their combination of earlier in this program where they tended to drift apart a great deal.
Going into the final lift.
Oh, this is not good.
Oh my
good at
goodness.
all.
Now this for a pair team is really your basic nightmare, because as you can see from this, it's very hard to escape from this gracefully.
Yeah, once a lift goes bad, there's usually not a safe or easy or pretty way to save them.
Isabelle Coulombe and Bruno Marcotte just hanging on at the end, perhaps for a medal.
There's the missed side-by-side double axel. He executes a nice one. She does a 3-jump.
And here's that lift.
She never gets into position. I think your comment about the fatigue bar really comes into play here, and they just weren't crisp going up into that lift at all.
Well, as the year progresses, hopefully the conditioning gets a little bit better, so by the time Canadians rolls around, they will be in a position to really get through this program strongly.
First set of marks from 4.9s up to the 5.3 from the Japanese judge. Will these marks be enough? Artistic marks are higher. In fact, they have first place ordinals from all but the Australian judge as they hope to nail down Canada's first medal here at the World Junior Championships. Well, at the World Juniors, you see the stars of the future. And in the case of this next couple, they bear a striking resemblance to stars of the recent past, Maria Petrova and Anton Sikharulidze. And they look a lot like Gordieva and Grinkov.
Well, they certainly do, Chris, and as you watch them skate this program, there are so many little things that they do that remind you of them, that you know that they've been sitting at home watching videotapes, or perhaps even have had the opportunity to see that couple train live and in person.
They are the leaders after the technical program.
Oh, they open with a side-by-side triple toe, neither of which executed cleanly. He actually falls, but the simple fact that this is being tried at a junior competition is fairly impressive, and they look like on a good day they probably nail those jumps.
Here comes the triple twist. Good height, but just barely gets the rotation there.
I don't know how she landed that. She looked like she was on quite a severe angle, but she obviously had enough strength in her right side to pull it off. An attempt at side-by-side double axles. He only did a single, and they seem to be the jump of the competition that's given most of these teams difficulty.
they had problems with that hand-to-hand lift. It came down a little bit early. You have to wonder if, again, the conditioning is coming into play here. Oh, a beautiful throw triple toe loop. She did put her hand down on the landing, but it had really nice height.
This is really strange. They've been out of sync now. It seemed to take them a long time to get going again. And a little spiral sequence that they did down the center of the ice, I often wonder if they just skated through a lift there and elected not to put a lift up at that point.
Well, they have moments of really great unison and then moments when they're completely off with each other. I have a feeling on a good day, this team is really good. And on a bad day, obviously,
they have some troubles. You talked about the conditioning thing, and we haven't mentioned that the practice rink for this competition is in the basement directly below the rink we're watching right now. But it is colder than a walk-in freezer, and I would like to take a poll of these skaters to see how many of them elected not even to exercise that ice time simply because it's so brutally cold downstairs.
The 92 junior Russian champions, Maria Petrova and Anton Sikharulidze.
Here, the side-by-side triple toes. I'm convinced that this team does these on a fairly regular basis, and he just dropped his right side a little bit.
Here's the double axel. She has no problem at all, and he does the single.
But
yeah,
that spiral through the middle of the rink in the last 30 seconds of the program, I think they skated through a lift.
The judging of their technical program earlier was interesting. They had 8 first-place marks. The French judge had them seated 5th, and there are the technical merit marks for the long program, up to a 5.4 from Japan. And now the artistic impression marks. And this should leave the door open for their teammates from Russia, Petrova and Sikharulidze.
Next, starting order number 12, Inga Korshunova.
And here are their rivals, Inga Korshunova and Dmitry Savaleyev, currently in 2nd place. And there were some anxious moments earlier, Paul, because it seemed like Dmitry was hurt in warm-up.
Yeah, he injured his thigh in warm-up. I didn't see exactly what he did. It was one of those, you look right, you look left, and there he was holding his thigh. So whether he did it by himself on a single jump attempt, I don't know. But it's going to be a factor here, perhaps, in how this couple performs.
well, it's been interesting watching this team in practice because it's very obvious to all that watch that she is the boss of this team.
That's always the way in pair skating, Barb, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, if the previous team looked like Gordieva and Grinkov, this young lady, to me, reminds me so much of Irina Rodina. She's really aggressive, same body type. And there she does a nice double axel with her partner.
Well, she reminds me of Elena Bechki, of Bechki and Petrov. Who is also the boss. Throw triple sow cow.
Ouch, ouch. Oh, you could tell that was not going to work from the takeoff. She went up with such a lean, there was no way she was going to land that throw.
She has a really nice extension on this cartwheel lift.
She looked great, but he, on the other hand, was anything but. His footwork in that lift was not good at all. He was actually quite herky-jerky and made me a bit nervous watching him.
I really get the feeling in this team that she is the stronger skater. She really seems front and center in this team.
I'm quite surprised at the casualness at which both of these Russian teams have made mistakes and then gone to get back into the program. They haven't seemed to be in any sort of a hurry whatsoever, and yet here she comes back and does an excellent throw double axel.
Well, it seems like they have some really great moments, and then they have some not so great moments.
It could be attributed to the simple fact that these are juniors, and the ability to concentrate 100% for the length of the long program is not there yet. Having watched this performance, on my card, it's a draw. It's going to be interesting to see what the judges thought of it. I'm sure there'll probably be some sort of a split decision on this couple because them versus their teammates is 50-50 as far as I'm concerned.
Here's a look at their double axles. Just barely pulled them off.
And here's a look at their throw triple Salchow, which was one of the poor... Look at the lean she gets on in the air there. There's just no way she can land that throw.
I have a feeling that was his fault, though.
Oh, sure, blame the guy.
Inga just 14 years of age, Dmitry 18, and obviously Inga not pleased with the way they skated as the first set of marks are posted. And this is going to be very close. They were second to their Russian teammates at the junior nationals there. Let's see if they can overtake them. 3 5.4s, and this is interesting. 5 first-place marks, 3 seconds, 1/3. Korshunova and Savaleyev have overtaken their Russian teammates to win the gold medal. And there's a Canadian celebration as well. It's Bruno Marcotte with the flag as Canada wins its first medal of bronze. Korshunova and Savaleyev the gold. Petrova and Sikharulidze take the silver. The other Canadians finish 7th and 8th as we join Paul Martini with our first medalists. Dung Arena in Seoul, where Canadian teammates are cheering on Yvon Desjardins, and it's already been an eventful week for Yvon. We saw the nosebleed problem he had in our medical feature. Also just barely out of qualifying. He was 12th in the last qualifier out of his pool, currently in 14th place after the technical program.
Yvon is skating his free program to West Side Story. Really nice triple flip, double toe loop combination there.
That was the very jump combination that he fell on in qualifying and had struggled throughout the balance of that free skate. But here, now that he's got that behind him, if he can keep it together and stay on top of himself, I think he'll do just fine. too bad. That was probably a triple Lutz attempt that he simply popped and ended up doing a single. And again, perhaps it's a concentration thing that he's having difficulty with. He's popped a couple of jumps now, but also done a couple of nice combinations. And he comes back with a gorgeous triple loop. The distortion you're hearing in the sound is out of our control. It was that way in the rink, which for a skater can be really distracting because it's the biggest motivator you have out there is to hear your music and hopefully hear it nice and clean. But here at the rink in Seoul, they've had music problems since day one here that they've never yet got the bugs out of the system. Double toe that was probably scheduled to be a triple toe there. It's just been, that basically sums up his week. He had some struggles early on in the week and it generally slowly got better and better as the week went on, but never, I don't think, ever really got the whole package together.
I thought he had some really good moments, and then it was like he was lacking in concentration. Here's a look at his triple toe loop combination, one of his better elements.
17 years of age from Boisbriand, 5th at the Canadian Junior Championships. His coach, Hélène Gervais. And the technical marks, our colleague Jean Sempt on the judges panel, and these are the best marks that Yvonne has seen here so far.
I think he's probably very happy with that performance. After the way the competition has gone for him, he must be quite pleased. And
he may move up a notch or two from 14th place. Yvonne Desjardins of Canada.
Next, starting number 18, Michael Weiss, USA.
Well, coming out of qualifying, Michael Weiss of the United States was considered to be a real medal contender, but he had trouble in his technical program, and the native of Washington, D.C. is currently in 7th place.
Well, this is the first time that we have seen Michael Weiss in international competition. I'd have to say I'm very impressed. He's really got a lot of style and carriage, and I think we'll see quite a bit of him in the future. Opens with a beautiful triple Lutz double toe combination.
Michael is only 16 years old, but he has been competing at the U.S. national level since 1989 when he was second in the novice event. A curiosity that still takes place in the United States at their nationals is they still compete school figures as an individual event, and Michael was quite proficient at them as he placed second at the 1991 nationals at the senior level.
Well, Michael is also very proficient as a diver. He has competed in regional events, and I think you can attribute his upper body strength to his diving. He really has a good carriage about him, and it gives him a real air of confidence.
In watching this junior world event over the past couple of years, I must say that the men have really made an attempt to skate to their music as opposed to through it. We're seeing more and more of the men really become attuned to what they're skating to and not just concentrating on how many triples I can get into my program.
All the performance we have seen here so far, this is one of the more consistent performances. He's been good from start to finish and very strong all the way through the end.
And as he finishes this program, we must note that he didn't attempt a triple axel, which so many of the top senior competitors seems like they must have these days in order to be in the top. But I'm sure it's something he's working on, and the strength of this performance, as you mentioned, Bart, from beginning to end, bodes well for this young man.
7th after the technical program, but he's delighted with that performance.
Here's a triple Lutz, very solid in the air, very straight. Not great height, but good, solid jumping skills.
Michael with his coach, Audrey Weisiger, awaiting the first set of marks here. 5-4s for the French and the Czechoslovakian judge. Much better marks than he saw in his technical program.
Well, I think we could see a lot of action up and down the leaderboard as this event progresses, simply because there have been very few skaters put 2 solid programs back to back here.
5-6 from the French judge, 3 first-place ordinals, so perhaps a major move in the works here for Michael Weiss of the United States. Well, from Russia, here is Ilia Kulik, who is 3rd after the technical program, a 15-year-old from Moscow.
Well, this young man was an example of somebody who, in qualifying, really didn't set the house on fire. And watching him in practice, I sort of put a star beside his name saying, hey, this is someone to look out for. And there's something to look out for. Gorgeous triple Lutz. And he came out in qualifying and didn't really do much, but he skated strong in the technical, and he's opened very well here in the free.
Triple toe loop. As I watch Ilia, I really notice flashes of Victor Petrenko every once in a while, even right down to the costuming.
do have to question, though, Barb, whether the costume matches New York, New York.
Combination right at the end of the program. Here's another skater who has really skated consistently from beginning to end, which is really nice to see.
Well, not only that, but he's put in 4 different triple jumps. The only 2 he hasn't attempted are the triple flip and triple axel, and he's done them all with caution to the wind and skated very, very strongly here. Well, this young man has perhaps delivered 2 of the most consistent performances of any competitor in the men's event so far. He skated strong in the technical as we look at this replay on his triple Lutz. Good height, nice tight rotation, good jumping technique. And by putting 2 strong performances back to back, I think we're going to see him stay on the podium.
The 92 junior Russian champion, 5.5 from Hungary and Czechoslovakia.
You can see on the face of so many of these skaters in the kiss and cry how hard they are on themselves. He's just skated a performance that'll probably keep him on the podium, yet he's not satisfied.
An intense 15-year-old who is very much in the medal chase. Coming up next, we'll have the leader from Ukraine when the World Juniors from Seoul continue after this. Ukraine, Evgeny Pliuta finished 4th in that event. He dropped from 2nd to 4th in the long program. And here he is now leading the 93 event.
Well, in terms of strength, speed, and maturity, this skater is well above the rest of the field.
Yes, all week as we've watched him practice, you've just watched him skate and say, there's the winner, and then there's the rest of the field, because he skated very consistently in practice, skated strong, won his pool in the qualifying, skated strong in the technical program. He's above the rest by a great big margin. A little wild there on that opening triple Lutz, but his strength enabled him to hang on.
And here's his triple axel.
Right into a triple flip. I mean, he is definitely head and shoulders above the rest. And not only in his jumping ability, but just in his presence as you watch him. He's confident, he's got speed, he attacks, and that's the thing that I think is going to carry him right on to, I think we're going to see him at Europeans and possibly at Worlds in Prague next March.
Gorgeous triple loop jump. He's now completed 4 triples, the Lutz, the axel, the flip, and now the loop.
first blemish on his record so far. That was supposed to have been a triple sow cow. He missed it. Obviously, it looked like it was supposed to have been a combination as well. But the only triple he's yet to attempt is a triple toe, so he's really got every jump covered.
And another triple flip,
in
double
combination
toe.
with a double toe.
Today.
Well, he's impressed, and as we sat here, we're certainly impressed. This is a young man who that's got to win this competition hands down. I don't think there's anybody else in the field that's going to catch him, and I think we can definitely look to see him at Europeans and Worlds.
Here's the triple axel. A little tight on the landing, a little far forward, but a nice completion of that jump.
And there's the triple flip, double toe combination. He did 2 triple flips in the program, 1 in combination and 1 solo. This is a young man with a future.
His coach, Lydia Mazlikova, he's 18 years of age from Kiev, an amazing succession of Ukrainian skaters with great success at the World Juniors. Former champions include Viktor and Vladimir Petrenko, Vasily Eremenko, Vyacheslav Zagrodnik, and last year Dmitry Dimitrenko. And these marks clearly the best we have seen in the competition so far. 9 first-place ordinals. And here's Canada's Jeffrey Langdon, born in Smith Falls, Ontario, now trains out of Barrie in the Mariposa Club. He was 9th last year in Hull, but right now 5th after the technical program.
Well, this is Jeffrey's first international of the season. He was scheduled to go to Blue Swords earlier in the fall, but had to give that event a miss as he was injured with an ankle injury. They have been continuing to tape his ankle here in Seoul, but I think it was strictly as a preventative measure. He has been very healthy and skating quite well here. Opens with a nice triple Lutz with a bit of a break on the landing, but he still executed it 1 foot, no touchdown. That was his attempt at the triple axel. You could see his upper body in that camera angle being outside the circle, and that's what put him in a position that would not enable him to land the jump. Nice triple toe, double loop combination. That particular combination shows good flow and an ability to carry your speed across the ice, because each time you land, you slow down a little bit more because there's no power step between those jumps.
Recognize this music. It's from the movie that came out this summer, Hook.
Nice triple flip jump. He had some difficulty with that one triple axel attempt, but since then he's really settled down nicely.
Lutz combination at the end of the program, which shows good conditioning on his part.
I think that's a definite Doug Lee influence, because we very rarely have seen a competitor come out from Doug Lee's school who wasn't in good physical condition.
Over last year's in Hall.
Oh, he definitely has come a long way since then. He's obviously had a good summer, some good training was put in, good time, and I think this is a program with which I'm sure he's heading to Canadians with high hopes with.
Triple toe loop into a double toe. Double loop.
'17-year-old Jeffrey Langdon, along with coach Doug Lee, awaiting the first set of marks. 5 2s, 5 3s, and 5 4s for technical merit. And now the artistic impression marks. He has second place marks from Russia and Denmark, 2 sixth place ordinals as well. So Jeffrey Langdon remains in 5th place. And Pliuta of the Ukraine is the gold medalist, a convincing winner here. Weiss jumps all the way from 7th to the silver. Kulik of Russia takes bronze. Canadians Langdon and Desjardins 5th and 11th are standing by with Paul. Celebrates gold for Ukraine. The ice dance free skate is next at the 93 World Juniors in Seoul. Looking forward to reliving some of the memories from Oakland, California last March, and just 2 months away now, the 93 World Championships from Prague. The free dance is next here at the 93 World Juniors. Marissa Gravino and Patrice Lauzon, 12th, heading into the free skate.
This is the second international competition this season for Marissa and Patrice. They also attended the Blue Swords event where they placed 5th. But coming here to Junior Worlds, one really gets a feel for where you stack up against the world, as everyone who is eligible and can get to Seoul obviously came by the large numbers of entries in all of the divisions.
Well, the Junior Worlds has certainly come a long way since we were there in 1978. Back then, you went there strictly for the experience. Nowadays, competitors are coming back 2 and 3 times because they want the title of Junior World Champion.
Well, of the 16 skaters on the Canadian team here in Seoul, this particular team was perhaps one of the most consistent skaters at this event. They've skated well throughout the compulsories, in the original dance, and here today in the free dance.
Both 17 years of age. Marissa from Kirtland, Quebec. Patrice from Boisbriand. The technical marks from 4.2 to 4.7 from the British judge, and the artistic impression marks from 4.3 to 4.8. 12th in each phase of the competition, and one would expect them to stay right about there for their end result. Along with coach Paul Langford. The second team from Canada, José Piché and Pascal Denis, 6th heading into the free skate.
Well, it certainly is nice to see that the Canadian dancers are sitting in such good position coming into the free dance. We have 2 teams in the top 6, and that shows some depth in ice dancing, which as of late hasn't been the strongest of disciplines here in Canada.
To perform 5 lifts. Now in pair skating, the male partner can fully extend his arms in a lift, but in dance, the hands cannot pass the shoulders. Whoa! It looked as though she just hit her toe pick and went.
Yeah, on the exit of that lift, it appeared as though instead of landing on the flat of her blade, she landed on the toe and down she went.
Which we've all done at one time or another.
Again, probably chalk it up to lack of concentration.
Now, hopefully they can settle down here.
Oh, settle down. Down is right. That's not exactly what they had in mind. And a long time picking it up.
It's hard in dance to pick up after a fall. First of all, it's so unexpected. And second of all, they normally use every beat of the music, so it's really tough to pick it up.
You talk about the beat in the music, Barbara. That was one of the biggest changes that was presented to the ice dancers this year, with the sweeping number of changes that came down from the ISU. They've been told that all of the music for the free dance must have either initially been arranged and orchestrated for the dance floor, or if not, the skater would have to have any piece of music that they have selected be rearranged and orchestrated so that it was suitable for dance, and that included having a beat, a melody, and again, it must be for dance floor use.
Well, it's not often that you see dancers go down, but I think after the first fall, they really didn't quite settle down, and as a result, went down again.
The surprise was that both times it didn't look like the partner was at all involved in the fall. The first one, she put her toe down incorrectly and fell, and the second one looked like he just tripped over his own feet and fell.
Under the circumstances, the technical marks not too bad, up to a 5 from the Italian judge, and also a 5 for artistic impression. Nevertheless, a disappointment as they fall from 6th to 9th. Here are Sylwia Nowak and Sebastian Kolasiński, those impressive youngsters from Poland who are currently in 2nd place. Remember, they were 11th at last year's World Junior Figure Skating Championship in Hull.
Who claim that the sport of figure skating is dying off or fading in Europe, but here's a country, Poland, which is proving that to be wrong. This is an outstanding ice dance team, which I think is going to come onto the world scene and be a very prominent contender. And they also have a wonderful young lady by the name of Rechnio, who we'll also see, and she again is an outstanding young prospect, and obviously ice skating in Poland is still very strong.
I think this team wins the award for most improved over the last year. They've really turned a lot of heads this week, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do at the upcoming European Championships.
They seem to have a maturity beyond their age, both just 16. Sylwia Nowak and Sebastian Kolasiński. And their coach, Maria Olszewska-Lelonkiewicz.
Well, to me, they're a team that's got a lot of underlying potential. As good as they look here, I think with time, we're going to see a really outstanding dance team. It's like a little diamond in the rough.
Well, the coach certainly delighted with the performance, and we expect she'll be pleased with these marks as well. 5 3s, 4s, and a 5-5 from the Italian judge. And now the artistic impression marks. And these are first place marks so far from each of the judges for this fine couple from Poland. Back with our Canadian medal hopefuls. Dion and Alexandra Alain won bronze for Canada in the ice dance competition in Hull. And Elizabeth Hollett and Pierre Huot-Chouinard of Canada are 4th heading into the free dance and thinking about a medal as well.
Well, it appears at this point as though the top 3 in this competition have been tumbling positions. Nobody has stayed in first place from the very outset of the competition, and I think that bodes well for this team to perhaps move up onto the podium. Easily recognizable characteristic of top-ranked dance teams in any competition is the ease with which they go through their transitions. By that I mean changing position relative to each other. This team is very smooth at it. Their speed and flow continues. They change position relative to each other, and yet the look is smooth and consistent throughout.
What I like is the fact that they seem so relaxed. It makes it very easy for the viewer to watch. Not only that, but they seem like they're having a great time out there.
Well, their track record indicates that they are a team with a lot of success. This is their 3rd time international. They placed 3rd at the Blue Swords in 1991. They were 4th in Murano in the spring of this year. So this is a team that's had consistent top 5 place finishes.
Elizabeth Hollett and Pierre Huot-Chouinard, and she made it through the week after that tumble early on. She had a lot of physio, including acupuncture, and there are the marks And whether that's enough to get them from 4th into the top 3 remains to be seen. Here is the team in 3rd place after the original dance from France, Bérangère Now and Luc Monanger. They won the first compulsory. They were 2nd in the second compulsory, 3rd in the original dance. And I think the Canadian fans are hoping that descending order continues.
Well, there has been a question this week about the music that this team has chosen. As we spoke earlier about the changes, the free dance music must have a definite beat. And in this program, the beat is not always audible.
I thought Huot-Chouinard's free dance was dance. This performance is looking more like a little bit like pair skating, more towards pair skating than actual dancing out there. Crossovers, a lot of 2-foot skating in this free dance, and I'm of the opinion that when the rule changes came in from the ISU, that this was the sort of thing that they wanted the skaters to stay away from or to steer away from. We have to remember, though, that this team, being from France, grew up and trained, perhaps emulating the work of the Duchesnes, and that's the type of free dance that the ISU has decided that they want to stay away from. So this young team perhaps had already been set in mold, so to speak, and perhaps are finding it difficult to change.
Going to have to go with the Canadians on this one. Not only did I enjoy the free dance more, but I think with the deduction that this free dance should take because of the inappropriate music selection, this team will have a hard time staying in 3rd place.
Well, for the judges, they're looking at a deduction of anywhere from 0.1 to 0.4 if they deem this music inappropriate, and we'll see that reflected if it takes place in the artistic impression mark.
They are the 92 French junior champions and were 9th last year in Hull, coached by Martina Boissier. They skate out of a suburb of Paris. And it appears that the U.S. judge and Canadian judge John Greenwood are the only judges to have now and Monanger behind the Canadians, with the leaders still to come. From Russia, Ekaterina, Svirina, and Sergei Sakhnovski. Well, a lot has changed politically in the old Soviet Union, but not the tradition of outstanding ice dance.
I think you can see right from the start of this free dance that there's going to be a humorous aspect to it, perhaps throughout.
zone. I think partly because they're so smooth, but also the way they float across the ice with hardly any effort. It's just beautiful to watch.
Well, when they can skate and you just sit back, relax, and enjoy the performance and don't feel like by talking you're going to add anything to it, I think it's a sign of a really high-quality performance.
It almost had the feeling of an exhibition performance. They were so relaxed and really seemed to be having fun out there.
Well, they were so dramatic during the Viennese waltz and the original dance, and here so lighthearted. So they've shown their versatility well, along with choreographer Elena Maslinikova. And the technical merit marks from 5.3 to 5.6 for this young couple from Moscow. Crowd reacting to these artistic marks, and they have 7 first-place marks. Only Hungary and Canada have them seated second, so Svirina and Sahnovski continue the Russian ice dance domination here with a gold medal performance. The promising Polish couple finished second now, and Monange beat out Huot-Chouinard for the bronze. Piché and Denis fall to 9th place, Gravino and Lausanne 12th. And here's Paul Martini. Russia will be back with the junior ladies when we return to Seoul. I don't know if you noticed, but Paul's suitcases were a little extra jammed. He seems to be the shopping guy among this trio. As we get set now for the women's free skate, and here is Anna Rechnio of Poland, who has been very impressive in practice and qualifying, and then, well, a disastrous technical program. She's 13th.
Well, this is another young lady who was at the Junior World event in Hull last year, and I'm sorry, I do not remember her, but here at Seoul, it's like a brand new skater out there. She's got a maturity about her that even though she had difficulty in the technical program, there's no denying that this young lady has a real future out here.
What I really like about her is the fact that she's so aggressive and she's really energetic as well. Really attacks her jumps. And a nice triple toe loop, double toe combination. Triple loop. She has a really good, solid jumping style. Good height and very strong landings. triple right at the end of the performance. Just look at the energy that this girl has. Seeing a lot of Anna in the future, and for sure we'll be seeing her at the European Championships coming up in Helsinki.
Well, she was obviously determined to go out there and redeem herself for yesterday's disappointing technical program, and you can see by her face that she's overjoyed with this skate.
Can hardly contain the emotion now. There's her coach Anna Hunkovic, a former Polish champion in the early 70s.
Here's a triple toe loop she did near the end of the performance. Look at the height she gets. Very solid position, very straight in the air. A little forward on the landing, but good knee bend, and she pulls it right out.
Just celebrated her 15th birthday. Remember last year at the World Juniors in Hull, here's the reaction of the coach. But we had some dramatic moves last year. Canadian junior champion Eddie Kim went from 15th to 7th. Lu Chen from 9th place after her disappointment in the original program all the way to the bronze medal. And now coach and pupil will celebrate a memorable performance here in Seoul. Here are the technical merit marks for Anna Rechnio of Poland. And you would expect that the artistic impression marks will be even higher, so she came in 13th, but with another nice set of marks, she could jump well into the top 10.
Well, she's skating so early and with such a strong set of marks, it's going to be very interesting to see where she ends up. That was a really strong set of marks.
Here's 15-year-old Lisa Irvin of Lakewood, Ohio, the junior champion from the United States, who suffered heartbreak last year at the Worlds in Hull when she led going into the long program, only to finish second for the second straight year. This year she must come from behind. She's currently 4th.
Lisa's performance earlier this week in qualifying was one that had many people wondering whether or not she'd even place in the top 10 here. She skated a very lackluster qualifying, and that's the kind of thing that wasn't there. That was a gorgeous triple toe that we just didn't see in her qualifying skate.
Loop jump.
Not only is Lisa jumping well here, but she's a very good example of the type of skater that Carol Heiss produces. She's refined, she's got nice flow, nice arms, whoa, nice triple Salchow. She just has a complete package that's most enjoyable to sit and watch. too bad. That was a triple toe attempt that she just seemed to under-rotate and was, as a result, in no position to land. But back with a really nice, strong double axel.
I'm really impressed with the maturity that Lisa has gained in 1 year. She, like you said earlier, has a complete package now. Not just excellent jumps, but choreography, presence, everything is there now.
Well, there's always so much movement in a junior event, and that is going to go down as one of the stronger skates here today, because she did a strong program from beginning to end, didn't show any sign of fatigue, and what most impressed me was she didn't seem to feel the effects of the long stay here. Here we're looking at her double flip, double toe combination.
And this triple loop is an example of perfect jumping technique. She gets great height, beautiful rotating position, and a perfect landing.
Not much question, had she skated like that in Hull last year, she would have won the gold medal with ease. There is Carol Heiss.
But it will be tough for her now because she's in 4th place coming out of the technical program.
She was 8th at Skate America, 4th at last year's U.S. Senior Nationals. And a nice set of marks here, 7 first-place marks, so she should move into the medals. Lisa Irvin of the United States, and that certainly puts the heat on Tanja Szewczenko of Germany, 15-year-old, second after the technical program.
Well, there's no mystery as to why she is sitting where she is now coming into this free skate. She skated a clean technical program. And in this day and age, with a lot of these skaters trying difficult triples in the technical program and therefore putting themselves at great risk if they missed them, and this year there was a rule change which allowed the junior ladies to once again incorporate a triple jump in their combination. We saw a lot of them missed, and those who skate clean, it reflects in where they're standing coming into this free skate.
She has some good jumps and then some that she just barely hangs on to. But I have a feeling when she is really on, the current German competitors in Marina Kielman, Simone Lang, and Patricia Nevsky will have a little bit of difficulty with this young skater. performance for Tanja. Now, I'm not sure whether that was enough to hold her in second place because Lisa Irvin really had a strong outing.
15-year-old Tanja Szewczenko of Germany.
Here's a look at the triple toe combination into the double toe. She just doesn't quite seem over top of all of her landings, but she's able to pull them through.
기술적 가치는 5.2, 5.3, 5.5, 5.2.
And the first set of marks for technical merit, the scores from 5.0 up to 5.5. Those don't appear to be as high as Lisa Irvin.
예술적 인상은 5.3, 5.4, 5.6, 5.1.
Now the marks for artistic impression, up to a 5.6 from the Ukrainian judge, but now Szewczenko is second behind Irvin. We'll be back.
number 24.
Even with the retirement of Midori Ito, Japanese women's skating's on a roll. Yuka Sato recently won Skate America. Kamiko Kawai of Japan, the leader here after the technical program. She was 8th last year in Hull.
Well, I'm just amazed at how far the Japanese skaters have come since we were competing as amateurs. Back then, they were lucky to get a top 10 finish, and now they're fighting it out for the medals. Good opening combination, double toe, triple toe. She has the same speed going into her jumps, the same speed and attack that Midori Ito had on her jumps.
Oh, that was really strange, Barb. I think she initially wanted to do a triple Lutz there, but she got into the air and thought, will I, won't I? I'll do a double, and by that time, next thing she knew, she had fallen down.
It's a case of second-guessing yourself in midair. But she comes back with a beautiful triple loop.
Pretty layback spin, nice arms. It's nice to see. That's perhaps the most neglected aspect of skating at this level. Not many of the juniors appear to spend much time working on spins, and when you do see a nice one, it's a treat. Nice triple sow double toe combination. In that last sequence, she went from landing her double axel at the other end of the rink right down to the boards at the far end of the rink, and that's an example of a skater really utilizing the ice surface to its utmost.
I thought, for Kamiko, maybe not her best, but I think enough to keep her in first spot, simply because Lisa Irvin, who probably had a superior performance, was fourth after the technical program and will not have enough to move up.
Here we look at her opening double toe, triple toe combination, which she went into with such great speed. And here we look at her triple sow, double toe combination from later on in the program. And it's important to demonstrate that you've got control of your jumps in those combinations.
On the left, Mashiko Yamada, her coach, and of course, the coach of Midori Ito. And Kimiko also trains in Nagoya, first set of marks, and now we await to see if these are indeed enough. She has 6 first-place ordinals, 2 thirds, and the Finnish judge has her 4th, but Kimiko Kawai of Japan appears to have won the gold medal here in the 93 World Juniors with 1 skater to go. Canada's Sherry Ball in 6th place. The 17-year-old has been standing out here, Paul, basically for the entire flight, which is somewhat unusual.
Well, I was surprised as we looked across the rink. She sat there and watched this entire flight skate. She didn't move very much. I didn't sense that she was trying to stay loose, and I just hope that she hasn't got too stiff, because coming into this free skate in 6th spot is a great setup for her. It would be wonderful to see her finish at least in the top 10, or with a good skate, she could finish in the top 5. That was an attempted triple flip, which was under-rotated, forcing her to put her foot down. It was actually at least a half a turn short of completion.
Nice triple toe, double toe. It looks to me as though she's rushing out there. She doesn't look settled at all.
I'm sure that was supposed to have been a triple sow cow, which she just turned into a double. She needs to take a deep breath right here and settle down into this program.
You may remember her from the Olympics last year. She skated pairs with Chris Wirtz. Since then, they have retired from pair skating together, and Sherry's gone on to skate in singles on her own, and she also has changed coaches in the last 2 weeks, which can be very unnerving at this point in the game. Hurt.
A missed triple toe attempt, and it's getting really late in this program. She can't have many more jumps to try, and at this point she's only put down 1 clean triple, that being the combination early in the program.
She's really having difficulties out here. It just looked like she came out and she really never relaxed into the ice. She's been rushing out there, and therefore her timing has been off on all of her jumps. That was a good double axel. Well, she had a little spurt of energy at the end there, but I think overall with that program, she really will be very disappointed with that, because it'll be tough for her to stay in her 6th place position that she's in right now.
And when you look at the completed elements, she really, in terms of technical difficulty, only did the double axel, which we just saw, and the double toe, triple toe combination off the top of the program. Everything else in between, she either popped or missed.
Well, her teammates encouraging her, but you could tell by the expression on Sherry's face that that did not go well at all.
Yeah, it's not the performance I know that she wanted to skate. If we'd have had her qualifying performance, it'd have been a whole different story. Here we're looking at the one double axel at the end of the program. And if she slips out of the top 10, it's going to be tough for us as a country, as we'll only be eligible to send one lady to next year's Junior World Competition.
There's her new coach, Ghislaine Briand. And in case you missed it earlier, Nettie Kim, the top Canadian hope, was unable to compete here because of an ankle injury, and the technical marks down to a 4.1 from the Polish judge. And this could indeed tumble her out of the top 10. And the second set not that much higher. In fact, she has dropped all the way down to 13th place. So out of the top 10, a disappointment here for Sherry Ball and the Canadian team. So Kamiko Kawai wins the gold medal for Japan. Lisa Irvin is the runner-up for the third consecutive year. Tanja Szewczenko of Germany wins the bronze medal. Now to Paul Martini with some final thoughts from Seoul after this. Back to Seoul, where the 93 World Junior Figure Skating Championship was historic and is now history. Barb, your thoughts on the Canadian performances?
I thought the Canadians performed very well, particularly in the pairs event with the bronze medal performance. Also in the dance event with the 4th place finish, which possibly should have been a bronze medal. In the men's event, Jeffrey Langdon was greatly improved over last year with a 5th place. I guess the disappointment must have been the ladies event, because without a top 10 finish, we're only eligible to send one lady next year.
Paul, your impressions internationally?
Well, Chris, for me, the highlight here in Seoul was the performance of Evgeny Pliuta, who took the men's event hands down. The Russians once again take the ice dance title, and the ladies event has so many great, bright, new, up-and-coming faces that I'm excited about that as an event overall. If there was a disappointment for me, I think it was the winning performance in the pairs event, which wasn't nearly as strong as that which we saw last year in Holland.
Well, for the pairs, though, it was a bright light for Canada, as Isabelle Coulombe and Bruno Marcotte bring home the bronze for our Canadian team. And this begins really an international triple for our figure skating coverage for the year. We always begin with the World Juniors. The next up is the European Championships from Helsinki, Finland, and then the 93 Worlds from Prague, Czechoslovakia in early March. Don't forget, next week we'll have the 92 World Gala from Oakland, California. And now for Barbara Underhill and Paul Martini, so long from Seoul, Korea. Season's greetings and Happy New Year, everybody.